to the Work Hates podcast. I'm Bron Lewis. This is Bretty Blake. Everyone has a nightmare work story, whether it is a shit boss, a dreadful workplace, or an insufferable colleague. And if you've had none of those things, chances are you're the problem.
Today, we are joined by a comedian, former radio presenter, and one half of Shad and Pete Save the World, Shad Wicka!
Oh, thank you, so, mate. You nailed that.
I nailed that. Everyone's
Absolutely
giving me
nailed
shit
it.
about my intros, but I think I nailed that.
Yeah, pre-pod, you were copping it from Bron, and
I
I'm going to
know.
say,
Hey, well, you
sucked in.
Yeah, sucked in, Bron. Finally,
Okay.
a guest is on my side.
Yes. Yes, this
Should
is
I
going to be
leave?
great.
Yes,
is this what
thank
happens
you.
in Queensland? We're in Queensland at the moment, and I have
Oh,
to say,
don't come in here.
this
Don't
come in
attitude
here.
towards women
You know what?
is absolutely atrocious.
Queensland helped build your bloody career, mate.
It
You
did.
show
I
a
love
bit
it.
of
I love
fucking
it.
respect.
Do you know, I was
Thank
in
you.
here. It was very in good chat. This is when I walked in. I walked in. I was like, oh my god! I remember this. I did my first ever Brisbane gig here.
Did you?
Yeah. The stage was over there, and it was really good. It was like it was Christmas time. The room was heaving. I was so pregnant and so sweaty.
Awful mother. Gigging
Awful
constantly.
mother. I know.
Yeah.
I was doing
She
shots.
was drinking?
Yeah,
Like,
drinking.
It was awesome.
She was smoking on stage too.
Oh, you can in Queensland. They
Yeah.
don't care around here.
Yeah,
And I
like,
did
get this
it-
mum a dart, for fuck's sake. She's running out of oxygen.
Exactly. And then and no, it went really well, but it was lovely because I came in and Jake Smith, who runs this place, he gave me a huge cuddle, and I was like, God, it's so much nicer in Queensland than in Victoria. Victoria, they like spit on you when you look at them.
Yeah, I've
They're
gotten
so
that vibe.
mean.
Are they?
They are, mate.
And
I've
the
got-
open mic scene, are you kidding me?
I don't know. I'm not in
Fuck
there.
off.
There he is.
Too fucking good for those
Hasn't
losers.
stepped into an
At
open
the
mic in
start,
years.
yeah, have
Nah.
you didn't
At the
didn't
start, everyone's very standoffish, you know.
Yeah.
But I suppose there's like 3,000 comedians in Melbourne just fucking clawing for a bit of scrap.
So what's your experience when you come down to
I haven't
Melbourne?
gigged in Melbourne much, but I reckon I've only gigged down there outside of the festival, I think twice.
Yep.
And the last time I was down there, I did a gig and I walked out on stage and I said, yeah, it's great to be down here. I'm down here from Queensland. And then a guy in the front row went, boo. And then
That's
the
awesome.
audience applauded him. And that infuriated me. And I remember at the time, it was after the referendum, and I said, hey, last time I checked,
Yeah.
you guys voted no too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We knew we were going to vote no.
Fuck.
I mean, I
yeah.
didn't, but like the state did.
We knew what the state was wrong. It's like when WA
Let's be
is like,
clear.
please, WA, please. And you're like, yeah, we know what's happening.
yeah, that was a real show your true colours type situation for this country.
Oh, especially for
Oh, so-
Melbourne.
what was that, Victoria? Oh, that's
yeah,
right.
I know. Victoria, I know. Shame on them.
Yeah, but
Shame on them.
Melbourne's like a hub, and then you go like 30 minutes out. It's the
Yeah.
same as everywhere.
Yeah, exactly. Except Brisbane.
Yeah, Brisbane.
Brisbane's
Brisbane's actually, isn't it like a green?
Not this last state election,
No,
mate. We got rid of
wasn't.
those bastards.
Oh,
We gave it a go.
So-
Yuck.
when I was here, they voted green, and I was like, "Oh, that's pretty good." And I was like laughing at my friends in Melbourne. I was like, "What have you guys got? Liberal? What have you got?" I didn't even know. And they were like, "Not Greens." And I was like, "See how great it is up here in Brisbane." Second I leave,
Yeah.
it's gone to the dogs.
Well, they went, finally, that bitch is out of here. Let's get back to the usual.
We don't have to worry about bronze.
Yeah.
We don't have to worry about this smoking mum on stage
Oh,
anymore.
Yeah, exactly. Back to
Smoking
regular
hot.
programming, guys.
But I have to say,
Fond
Brisbane
memories.
comedy is so good. I love it because it's so like they like help new people, and they the crowds are always the best in Brisbane.
Now,
They're
I
always
said
the
it
best.
last night, it was one of the most fun gigs ever. You know what I mean? I was like, fuck, it's so good to come back here because the scene's not so massive that you don't know everyone, and it feels like a bit more of a sense of community here, you know?
Yeah, I think so. I think Brisbane comedy is where it's at. I think it's like the unsung hero of Australian comedy. There you go.
I still think this
Hopefully, yeah.
this is my favourite club in Australia to play.
I
When
think
it goes
I'm
well.
not going to
When
like.
it goes well.
Yeah.
I don't want to talk up good chat more than we have to, but I reckon it's off the back of this little club we're recording in.
Of course.
Because it was kind of like a rising tide kind of situation. It's
Oh,
like
yes.
It was a one-horse race in this place, and then I think when this one started and a bunch of others started, it kind of made
But it
everything
made
a
the
bit better.
scene
Yeah.
lift across both rooms and all the
Yeah.
rooms
Yeah.
around, because you've got somewhere to work on. There's something to aspire to, giving younger people a chance, which makes them develop their craft for the other rooms and,
And
stuff
there's
like
still
that.
fucked gigs.
Yes.
It's like
Oh,
still
yeah, yeah.
You've still got to do some real fucked gigs here.
Oh,
which makes
yeah.
it
I was going to say the state of
battle-tested.
Queensland, I've had the best and the worst gigs of my life. Yeah.
100%.
I think, Queensland's the one where you don't know whether you're going to get bashed in the car park. You're like, this could be
Yeah.
the night where I lose all my teeth, or become the best comedian in the world. And you have to roll the dice. You're like, let's go. Teeth grow back, don't they?
Sometimes in a Melbourne crowd, you're like, I could bash everyone in this room. You rock up to a Brisbane or Perth gig, you're like, hey, does anyone want a soft drink? Is everyone okay?
Yeah, you just
Cups of tea?
bring a peanut butter sandwich to a Melbourne gig and that'll keep it feels away from it. Get back!
It's funny because it's true.
I had a guy rush the stage at this venue. Like my first year being in Brisbane, I did the show that I do with Pete, and we did a live show here. And we had like a problem out of the bucket, and it was something to do with a circumcision. And Ree Down was on the show and was like, "Oh, we should just do the circumcision now," as a joke. And this drunk guy rushed up to the stage, started pulling his dick out
Incredible.
of his pants.
Brett!
And another comedian, Nick Carr, threw him over his shoulder and took him out of the venue.
Now that is Queensland. All right, yeah, we know he's getting his dick out. We don't approve it. Can we get the biggest guy we know to fucking yank him over the shoulder? And that guy would have been like, yeah, fair enough. Just walk me down to Kittens, mate. Yeah. The ladies down there will love it.
Actually, so we're only a stone's throw away from Kittens.
Never
That's
been.
the place. Yes.
What is it?
Come on. You got dropped there. You said you didn't you do a shift there last night before? Anyway, I did a gig.
I was bragging to the
Here
Uber
we go.
driver. I was like, yeah, I'm not bragging. I said, he goes, what are you doing today? I said, I got a couple of live gigs, a lot of performances or whatever. But where I dropped the pin was at Kittens, and he dropped me off there. And he's like, oh, here? And I went, yes.
Yeah.
He goes, really? I'm like,
Oh, yeah.
on stage? I went, oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. There's a bath on stage, babe. It's gorgeous.
Yeah. He's never going to Kittens again.
I did a gig there. Have you ever done a gig in Kittens?
No, but my dream is to do the triple thread: a spot at Good Chat, and then on the pole at Kittens, and on the pole down the road at Honeybees, the other strip club.
Oh, okay. All right.
You know, there used to be a strip club there as well. There was like 3 strip clubs within a fucking 1 block radius.
I know, because in Melbourne we have more. Is it King Street?
Don't know.
Come on. And is Brisbane? Is this the strip club hub? Or is there a better one?
It would, I guess, because I mean, there's kind of scattered because there's some of the. When I drove Uber, when I first moved here, the time when you're doing gigs and you finish a gig and it's like 9:30, 10 o'clock, you might have hang out for a bit and then you'll leave. I'd turn the meter on and just try and get a lift back because I was living on the south side.
Yep.
And I would consistently pick up strippers leaving their shift or heading to their shift after gigs. And there's like 2 in the city. There's these ones here. There was another one around the corner, and I think there's 2 or was 2 in the valley. So there was a fair few around.
There's a market for it here.
Yeah, I think, we support the arts.
Yeah, that's what I said.
You know what I mean?
Queensland's the opportunity state.
Exactly.
We want our girls working. So you worked Uber. Now, I've also worked Uber as well.
All right.
How did you find that?
I thought so. I worked Uber after I lost my job in radio because I needed to make a buck.
Which we will talk about very soon because it's very, very funny.
I didn't mind Uber, but I avoided nights because 1, I was trying to do heaps of gigs, but 2, my whole logic was I know how much of a piece of shit I am at midnight.
Correct.
I'm not going to pick up me's. I'm not going to be able to handle picking up me's.
Because I will fight me.
Yeah, Sam, because I'd done Brekkie Radio for ages, I was like, I'll try early mornings out.
Yeah.
And I'd make a killing because there was learning how the other side live. There's like a fuck ton of people that live in Brisbane that fly commute to Sydney.
Oh, really?
So I'd make a bit of coin driving people at like 5:30 in the morning from their house to the airport and then picking up people and driving back. So I'd do most of my stuff early mornings and then it was late night after gigs. I never had major issues with people in Uber, but I did actually, maybe I've still got the app. I'll have to have a look. I found out you can get reviews.
And they're always good.
Yeah, people review,
So
everyone
not just
reviews
the
driver.
stars, they can write down a sentence
you can
about
review. You can review your driver because you know how you can get reviewed by your driver as well.
Yes.
You can find out what your rating is. I'm a better driver than I am a passenger. I think my passenger rating is like 4.1 and my driver rating was like 4.5.
Even mine's like 4.4 and I'm a piece of shit.
You would have had heaps of ones as well.
When I was driving, I reckon I had good reviews because I had, it was at the start of Uber, maybe 8 years ago. You know when you had to give them bottles of water and all that shit? That's all gone. But I used to have beers in the back. In the boot. So if I ever picked up young blokes and I'd be like, boys, who wants a beer? $5? Cash, and I'll just give them beers as I'm driving them into the city.
That's incredibly illegal. But
Yeah, of
So
course,
not
dude.
okay.
Dude, I was having one as well. That's even more illegal.
Did you get fired?
No. How can you get fired from Uber? They'll
When
give
they
me-
say stop doing that,
No,
go
they're-
away.
Yeah, who doesn't know what you're
Who
doing?
they know, and they don't
Yeah.
fucking care.
They don't care, mate.
So many times I'd be dropping people
Oh
off,
my gosh.
sell them some beers, and they're like, "Do you want to come in for a quick one?" I'm like,
Yes.
"Fuck yeah!" I had
Yeah.
heaps of beers with me. I was the worst Uber driver. I had to leave my car in the city so many times because I got maggot.
100%. I loved it. If there was a really good party vibe, I was taking them in. Like I ended up at some hotel in Brisbane City because the guy was like, "Mate, we're having a big night on the bags. What do you reckon?" It was like a long drive to get in there. And I was like, "Oh, sounds like a good time." He goes, "You want to come up?" I was like, "Sweet." And I didn't see my car for 2 days. I was like, "Great, dude. What a time."
So were they introducing you? This is my Uber driver. Like
Pretty much, yeah.
That's
like I
great.
walked in, he goes, "I met this cunt in the drive. What do you reckon?" I was like, "All right, sweet, let's go."
That's
Fuck
great.
yeah.
Bit of a party. I think the funnest part was like I'm curious about what people do. So like most of the time I don't want to talk to anyone. I'd like to just like if they sat in the front, I'd always be like, "Oh fuck."
As soon as anyone sat in the front, I hate it.
Yeah.
Like, get out.
But you see the logic though. They're like, I don't want you to feel like my slave.
No, fuck
I wanna
off.
No, I
help
like
you.
that. Stay in the back.
Stay in the back.
I'm
so
always
we
in the
can
back.
talk.
I've never sat in the front seat. I refuse to.
But to the bottle thing, right? I was like, Uber really started off strong, being like,
Yeah.
you get bottles of, you get mints, and now
Customer
it's
service.
like the only people that are doing it for you now are like, you know, probably new to Australia, Sri Lankans are probably the only people that are doing it.
Okay. Yeah.
Like my cousins and stuff, they've given up on that shit. They're like, fuck them, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Get in, fuck off.
Mate, I'm shocked if they vacuum the car now.
dead
You know what I
set.
mean?
And mine was like, I never had any treats in my car whatsoever. But I got to a point where I didn't give a fuck so much that if I was listening to a podcast, I wouldn't change it.
No.
Then they get in and
I think you're allowed to do it. I don't know why.
yeah, but when you're listening to like a
Surely.
true crime about
Oh,
a
yeah.
gruesome murder,
Oh,
and then you're picking up a girl at like 10:30, and you're like, and the only like time you're looking at each other is you through the rearview mirror. How was your
Bag of
night?
lime in the back seat and a shovel. You're like, what? I was at Bunnings.
Yeah, how was your night tonight, love? Just in the rearview.
Anyone expecting you home, or that is terrifying.
I always hated when you got when a fucking boomer got into the
Front
car.
seat?
Well, yes, but then they go, mate, why are you going this way? What you need to do is you need to go right, left, down. I was like, I don't
yeah.
fucking know, mate. I turn the GPS on. If you want to tell me where to go, I will fucking gladly do it. You are killing me here. Oh, why did you pick this road? I don't know. I'm from Perth.
Yeah.
This is $12.
Do
Yeah.
you want a beer for $5
Yeah,
or
I'm
not?
not even offering them a beer if they're giving me
Oh,
directions.
I
They're
got
cut
okay.
off.
I got stuck when I first moved to Brizzy because I got the spaghetti bypass, the ICB, where it's
Yeah.
like all the lanes go all over the place.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah,
your
it stresses
GPS
me
just
out.
gives up on you when you're in that because it doesn't know what's going on. And I picked up this poor bloke after he'd been on a bender. So the guy was like ready to go home. And he was like also new to Brisbane. So we both spent so long just looping around this fucking ICB trying to figure out how to get there. And I just turned it off. I said, don't even worry about it, dude. Just give me your address.
God,
I'll
there's
find
so
your way
many
home."
red flags that you are a serial killer. We'll go on the spaghetti bit and I'll turn off the GPS.
And we've
Don't
never
worry
seen
about
him
it.
since.
Yeah, no, it's all
And
right
he's
again.
gone.
I got given a gift once
Oh, that's beautiful.
from a guy. I picked up a guy from the hospital. And he jumped in, and as we were cruising on, we got stuck in traffic. So he's like starting up a yarn with me, talking about what he's been up to, all this kind of stuff. And he was wearing a suit, so he looked like, I was like, all right, you're a business dude. And then as we're sitting there in just dead silence, waiting for the cars to move, he just goes, hey, do you eat honey? And I was like, oh yeah, I guess we eat honey.
My ass is sticky.
I was like, yeah, I guess I ate honey. And he goes,
disgusting.
reaches into his pocket, and it was like a jar like this big. And he puts it in my cup holder, and he goes, hey, you can have that. That's some honey. And I was like, where the fuck did you get the honey from? And he
Stole
goes,
it for the
oh,
children.
my doctor has bees. So like every time I go and see them, he gives me a jar of honey. I was like, oh, that's nice. He goes, yeah, but my housekeeper also has bees. So I can't bring foreign honey into the house. And I was like, whoa, what a dilemma you have.
What
What
a
is
life
that?
this guy
This is
lives.
Brisbane
right?
though. Why
Everyone's
would-
got, everyone's got, yeah. What are the odds you know one?
we used to have a golf, like a VW Golf when we lived in Brisbane, and every time we drop it in for a service, they'd be like, we've got bees on the roof. Here's a honey, please come back. And I was like, we don't want any more of it. Can
We
you
don't
stop
want roof honey.
Stop charging us so much money. Where's it all going to the bees? I don't want to know that you're doing anything else but fixing cars. You know, like what is, maybe it's a Brisbane thing. Maybe
You
you
know
guys
the
have too many.
powerhouse has bees. Right above where you perform at the Brisbane
What the
Powerhouse, there's
fuck?
bees.
That is weird. That's weird.
Just a guy goes
Brisbane?
out there and collects honey during your set.
Instead of hearing crickets, you're hearing bees. Fucking hell.
Yeah, Bob.
So, Shad Wicka, what is we ask this of every guest, what is the worst job you've ever had?
The worst job. Oh man, I've actually been I reckon I've been pretty blessed. Like Uber was pretty fucked. I think I worked at I worked KFC for a bit when I was a kid.
Okay, so did you have to cut? This is a rumor that I heard at KFC when I was in high school. This guy called Richard, a huge stoner. He worked at KFC. Dream job for a stoner.
Yeah, because
You'd
at the
think.
end of the night, you get all the chicken that didn't get
Yeah.
sold.
However,
that would be
his
the dream.
job,
I'd be so fat.
his job, he said, was
still
to
working it
chop off the tumours. Is this a real job, or is he just
No, you don't
lost
cut anything
it?
off. The fryer gets all that.
They're frying the tumour,
Frying
dude.
pretty hard, dude. Tumour just comes off.
So what like and also
do you
also
like
the
do you
gravy?
like the gravy?
No, I don't like the gravy.
Okay, so this is how they make the gravy.
Yes.
So
8 dead bodies.
here we go. So
Honey from the roof.
This is how they did it. This is how they did it at KFC in Muswellbrook, which is now shut down due to health complaints. Apparently, there was a thing called polishing where you clean the fries, and it happened at like 9 o'clock. And you'd you go through and you basically empty the oil out from the fryer into this machine that would filter the oil, and then you'd pump the filtered oil back in. So
Okay.
they get another run out of the oil.
So just one more run?
Sure.
How many runs?
Sure.
It's closed down for a reason. Sure. Yeah.
By Muswellbrook, yeah.
And in the like big cylinder fryer they've got, there's like another cylinder in the inside of it. So once you drain all the oil out, you reach down and you turn it and lift it up, and this cylinder would come up. And in it is when you put the chicken in, all the little bits like the kidney and all that kind of stuff, all
Yeah.
the hair and all that.
Hair?
Little bits that fry and don't stick to the chicken will sink to the bottom of
The
the
kidney
fryer,
and
right?
the feathers.
And everything left over.
Oh, God.
And it would fall down to the bottom, and it'll collect in the bottom of this thing. So you'd lift that up, and you'd pour the excess oil out, and then you'd
So
pour it onto
did you feel like a scientist? Was it, like,
Yeah, you felt
bring
pretty
it-
cool
Yeah,
at KFC. Pimples on your
Ooh.
face.
Hey, how did I get this job? I'm a wacky laboratorist. I'm a mad scientist. I've got a PhD.
That's what I mean. So it's collecting at
Like
the
a
bottom,
fucking
you pull it
low-grade.
out.
Yeah, I've got the
You're in a
goggles
gr-
on.
You're in a grease trap.
Someone's there with a clipboard.
A Bunsen burner. Yeah, great. Okay.
So they'd you'd pick that thing up and you would pour, it's like a wire rack with a drainage catcher on the bottom, and you'd pour all of this chunky mush onto the grill thing, and then you'd put that in the fridge overnight, and the guy on open would grab that, put it in a mixer with a couple of bags of whatever the spice
Like a
was,
blender.
and they would churn that together, and that would turn into the gravy.
Because it's just congealed. Like it doesn't.
Yeah, because of all the
It's
fat
just-
and
it's just
stuff
fat,
that's in there.
isn't
Yeah,
it?
it's just basically fat and bits, which
But people love
would,
it.
People would turn their nose up at that going, oh, that's yuck, it's the offcuts. I said that to my nan. I was like, you wouldn't believe this is how they make the gravy. My nan's like, how do you think I make the gravy for the roast?
Yeah, it's all the
It's
fucking...
like it's all the shit that falls off the roast, and then I mix
Yeah.
that into the gravy.
But
It's
there's
like, it's
no
gravy.
hair and stuff. I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well-
gravy is you put. My mum puts flour in the oil.
Yeah.
In the pan. Delicious.
That's pretty much it.
That's okay. That's normal.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it
That's
looks
nice.
good. Man, I reckon if
It
you
looks
yank
mad.
that out, you'd be like,
If-
I've got to give that
especially-
to someone.
It would be
Kidney
pretty.
giblets.
We used to do experiments. I remember once we put a whole bunch of M&Ms in a crispy strip and fried that to see what happened.
See, you are scientists.
Or you got to double bread when you do a drumstick, you got to bread it twice so it gets the bigger skin.
Yeah.
So you flour it and you dip it in water and you flour it again. So we had one that we just floured for like an hour. We just kept flouring this one drumstick.
Yes.
And made it massive, put it in and cooked it. And then we had like a new guy on, and we didn't tell him we were doing this with the drumstick. We're like, oh, fuck, let's go and see what this giant drumstick's like. And he was like, oh, no, I just put everything in the thing. So someone that day would have opened up their family box and had this fat fuck turkey leg looking drumstick, and probably would have cut into it just a bit of raw dough.
Yeah, it would have been
Well, you don't have to worry
revolting.
because they're definitely dead now from a heart attack. They are fucked.
So that was the worst job you reckon you've ever had? That's
I'd
pretty
say
gross.
So. Like, because then after that, I just kind of...
Did you get a lot of pissed people coming in?
Yeah, but mate, I was a cook. I was never front facing. So it was pretty cruisy overall, because you just like, all you had to deal with was just... The worst thing about working in like a KFC and shit is that you've got a fucking guy 3 years older than you that's a manager and is acting like
Yeah.
he's been the fucking head of the company.
Oh,
for
Guy
yeah.
that's never
20
had a
years.
shower telling you how to do basic
Drunk
hygiene
with
for a
power.
restaurant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is this in Cairns?
This was in Muswellbrook, actually.
Yeah, what is that? What's
Hunter
that?
Valley in New South Wales.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
I went to high school there.
Did you?
Yeah.
I didn't know that about you.
I moved around heaps. I lived in Central Coast for a bit as well.
But Cairns for the longest?
No, Cairns was the first place. When I was real little, I moved there from Tonga. And then when I was about three or so, apparently, we moved down. My dad always reminds me, come Origin, you're in Cairns first.
You're
Okay.
You're a fucking real
So when someone says,
Yeah.
where are you from? What do you say?
I say wherever's going to get me the best reception.
Whatever's
That's
going
pretty
to get me
good.
on the gala.
Yeah, exactly. Mate. Yeah, mate. I tell you what, if I'm applying for a job at the ABC, Pakistani immigrant from Tonga. So that's about it. Mel Buttle said that to me once. She's like, really ham up to
Yeah.
where you're from.
Yeah.
So
Everyone
And
else
yes, I've got
does.
glasses. Technically, that's a disability as well.
yes,
Well,
you're
there's
right.
Ben Lomas was on the
And I'm
multicultural.
undiagnosed, whatever you
Yeah,
want.
whatever you want.
I'm on a spectrum of something.
Whatever you want. Ben Lomas, who's been on the podcast, he was on the Multicultural Gala. He hosted that for ages. They got paid really well, and it's just because his parents are Dutch. I was like,
I last time I was at Melbourne, I was on the Asian comedy lineup.
yeah, that makes sense.
Well, my whole set was about how I only realised after getting booked for the show that Pakistan's part of Asia.
Dude,
From the map, I was like, oh, fuck, okay.
hey, look,
A gig's a gig.
you learned then, and I just learned right now. I was like, really? It is part of it? Oh, that's
Fucking hell,
cool.
apparently share a border. All right.
Now, you have been potentially fired in spectacular fashion, or
Potentially.
What
Was.
was?
It is
So
maybe the most
this
epic firing
Can you
situation.
please explain what happened? Because you were on TV with the Prime Minister with a coffee cup.
No, let him tell
Okay,
the story. He
yeah,
knows
okay.
how to do it, Brady. You don't spoon
I'm
feed
just
him.
on
He
I'm
is a
cueing
grown
him in.
man.
I'm jumping the rope
I was,
for it.
Well, too many ropes. Sorry.
It was radio.
Radio.
The TV of the years. But I was on breakfast radio in Cairns.
That took me so long to get. TV. I'm like, whoa, bit of a
Don't worry,
delay.
people listening get it.
Yeah, bit of a delay over here in Perth.
Someone's going to get that in a couple of weeks when this episode comes out. No, I was in Cairns, and Cairns was like my dream job. So I finally went there from Darwin, and I was stoked. But then over the years, I kind of started to get asked if I wanted to go elsewhere. So I got an offer to move to Triple M on the Central Coast. So I was going to move probably to Sydney, and I said yes to the job, signed the contract, and I was on holidays at the time. And they just said, all right, you're good to start. You're going to come down to Triple M in Sydney. All we need you to do is just get through your last week on air in Cairns, and then come on down and you start on the Tuesday. So I was like, all right, easy, I'll shit that in. And I got back to work, and it was at the time when ScoMo he had just knifed Turnbull.
Yes.
So he was like kind of doing his little tour around the country to try and gain favour. And he came up to do our breakfast radio show that week, and he was on there promoting. Actually, I still remember what he was promoting. He was on there to plug that he was giving a $250,000 grant to a Captain Cook landing reenactment that happens on Australia Day in Cooktown.
Oh my god!
What
And it was in the midst of a domestic violence crisis in North Queensland. So it was like a real
they also
tone
love
deaf.
Captain Cook over
Jesus.
here.
Yeah, it was a real tone deaf kind of scenario. And
What do people in Cairns love Captain Cook that much? You guys used
Well,
to
we
have
used to
that
have the Cook
huge,
statue.
yeah, but it's gone down.
But there's Cooktown, which is north of Cairns.
Okay.
And they do like a reenactment. I don't think it's Captain Cook landing because he didn't land it, I don't think, but it's like a landing. It's a reenactment of colonial
He never
settlement.
landed there,
Sure.
but he's like, let's do a reenactment anyway.
Yeah. But it's like some kind of reenactment thing. And we were doing the interview. And when you do like a politician interview, it's real like standard. You just kind of, you do dumb shit because it's FM. They don't want you to talk politics all the time. So
Yeah.
you do like, I think I was talking to him about how I was like, is it a shared urinal for everyone? And like, if there is, are you like doing
Yeah.
wheeling and dealings in the bathroom? Because I feel like if I was a poly, that's when no one's listening. I'm doing my deals.
And what's his vibe when you're being silly? Is he into it? Is he laughing, or is he like, ugh?
He was a little bit dismissive because my co-host Carly at the time had kind of called him out on some politics stuff prior. So he was a
Oh.
little bit dismissive. But I had footage. It was fine. There was no big issue. No one was taking any issue of it. I was looking like the idiot, which was my job. And then after you do the chat, they always make you take all these photos. And he's got like 6 media team there. So we played some music and we stood in the studio doing the dumb fucking photo. We just like, so they can put it up on fucking online and make him look like he's got friends or whatever. And I'm in the photo. I'd been drinking my morning coffee and I was holding the mug. And I just happened to be holding a mug that had the word cunt written on it.
The handle was the C.
handle's the C
Fuck
and
yeah.
the UNT's on the thing.
So it's big. It's a big
and
word.
It's an office mug. And I didn't plan to have this mug that day. I just kind of had it that morning. And in one of the photos, I'm holding that mug, and that just happened to be the mug that he shared on all of his social media immediately after the interview.
And no one from their office saw it.
No one from their office saw it. And I found out a little while after that is a sackable offence.
Yeah, dude.
Is it?
So I thought you did it deliberately, or it was like...
Okay, so I didn't...
It was a little bit.
Okay, so it wasn't the sense that I didn't set it up. So when it hit the media, they were like, oh, prank gone wrong. I was like, no one planned this shit, right?
Yeah,
and
right.
they tried to sack my co-host at the time, good mate of mine, Carly. And I was like, there was no one involved in some grand scheme. I didn't know that I was doing it. I knew at the time what happened was doing the photos, and I was like, fuck, I'm holding the cunt mug. And the fucking dickhead comedy head in my mind went, oh, this would be pretty funny.
It is funny.
You can tell funny.
You can't even really see it in the photos. I don't know why I'm in so much trouble, but like you can tell that I'm actually holding the mug like this. So at some point I switched from this to this. So it's kind of hard to deny that because no one walks in a room and be like, hey guys, how you doing?
That's how I just...
This is burning my hand, but it's way cooler.
Yeah.
So the crazy thing that happened with the gig though, and this is why like it always fucked me off with some SCA, was that happened on a Tuesday. I went back to work on Wednesday. I did a little laugh about it. He put a story up and I reshared it on my socials and was like, all I wrote was like, oh, ScoMo gets it. Because it's like just a bit of
He
fun.
thought it was... Because you would assume that he's seen it, it's funny.
So I was just like, he just gets it. That's a bit fun. How funny. And a picture of the mug. And I just left it. And that was on the Tuesday. So then I came back to work Wednesday. No one said anything. There wasn't an issue. We were all talking about, fuck, you're leaving on Thursday, rah, rah. I do my farewell on Thursday. People are ringing up. We're doing a whole thing. Because I've been there for fucking 4 years.
Yep.
And I say goodbye to everyone. And then I have all my shit packed in my car.
Oh, God.
I got my dog in the passenger seat. My girlfriend at the time was like, all right, I've put in notice at my job. I've got 2 weeks here. I'll meet you down in Sydney. We'll start looking for houses. Can't wait to start our new life together. I'm like, hell yeah, babe. And I leave Cairns on the Thursday and I drive from Cairns to head down to Sydney with a stopover in Mackay and then probably Brisbane.
Yeah, it's a big drive.
Yeah, so I'm driving and as I'm getting to Mackay, the picture does the rounds on Twitter. And then my phone's blowing up. There's a couple of texts and stuff. And I'm like, oh, fuck, this could be a bit of an issue. I get a call from one of the people at SCA and he's like, look, we're just going to need you to take down anything you had like associated with it. And he goes, don't stress. We'll probably just be some social media training or something like it'll blow over. I was like, all right, okay, cool. And I get to Mackay and I stay the night. And then I get up in the morning and I get a call from the boss. But he rang me and he's like, we need you to come into the Mackay office for a quick chat.
And you knew? Did you know?
And that's when I was like, this isn't about the mug, is it? And he was like, well, and then I was like, oh, fuck. So I rock up to it's 8 a.m. I get to the studio in Mackay and I go up into the boardroom and I take my dog with me because it's just me. I'm not going to fucking leave her in the car. So I go into the boardroom and I remember I got in there and there was this lady, I can't for the life of me remember her name, but she was the manager of the station. And she was sitting at the end of the table. And I walk in and he's on the TV screen. And I sit at the end of the boardroom table and he does the chat. And they do the back and forth. They try to blame it on like, oh, who else is involved? And I was like, it wasn't that. And I remember I even said to him, I was like, mate, if I've got to be suspended or something like no pay or whatever, like I completely understand. Like, you know, I'll cop it on the chin. And then he was like, all right, let us go and have a think. And post this, I'm like, I should have sued these bastards. But he came back in like less than 10 minutes, like pretty small investigation. And I still remember what he said to me. He was like, you embarrassed the Prime Minister, you embarrassed the CEO, and you embarrassed the company. You're fired, effective immediately.
Oh my God.
And then moments later, the TV just turns off.
Oh, like a villain, like
and
an evil villain.
I'm just sitting there and I remember I pushed my chair back and I was like freaking out, just being like, fuck. Like, you know, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
What am I going to tell my mum and that? There was billboards up in Gosford, like for the new breakfast show that I was going to do.
With your face on it.
And like my little brother was in high school at the time and like he'd already kind of copped a little bit of shit or whatever. And I was just like, fuck, how am I going to tell them that I've like got no job? And I remember too, he said, we're happy to put you up for the night in Mackay and pay for a a psychologist if you need to chat to someone. And I remember I was angry and I said to him, "Oh, fuck off, Mick." I was like, "Fuck off, Mickey. Just covering yourself in case I top myself. No thanks."
Very good.
I was pretty furious.
Which
I may do. I'm not going to tell you.
It's absolutely spot on,
But
though.
like, and I was like freaking out. I was like, "How am I going to tell my girlfriend as well?" And the lady who was my support person, apparently, like that's a whole
On the other end of the
whole
thing.
reason she was here was like my support person. She was like, "Oh, go get you a glass of water," and I'm just like, "Yeah."
How about,
Like, that's the issue.
Yeah. How about 90 grand as well, cunt?
Yeah.
He's at a new job.
120, but
Oh.
yeah.
Ooh, that hurts even more now.
Yeah, 6 figs.
Yeah.
And I was like, she leaves the room and my dog, like I'm welling up, like I'm pretty devastated. And my dog comes over. I remember she licked me on the side of the face and I just pushed her away. So she walked to the corner of the room and just did a shit on the carpet.
Yeah.
And I remember looking at her and I just went, you know what, fuck this. I was like, good girl, grabbed the lead, and I just walked out of there before the lady came back, got in my car and just started driving to
Where
Brisbane.
to?
I drove to
Okay.
Brisbane because my best mate lives here. Lives here. So
With
I was
your,
just
all,
like,
your shit, all your stuff in the car. Your
all my
car's
stuff's in the
complete-
car.
Oh
I
my
just started
gosh.
fucking driving
I
to
love
Brisbane.
that lady comes back in and never clocks the dog. Like, Shad did a shit in the corner of the room.
Yeah.
What a fucking ass. I tried to get him the water. I was helping out.
Mate, dead set. That's probably why I never got another radio offer. I just found some shit in the office. Oh my
What a
God.
fucking cunt. I was just trying to get him rehydrated.
Yeah, so I ended up in Brisbane, and there's like a whole bunch of other stuff they do when you get fired for that kind of job. Like a couple of people from radio that like I'm still friends with now, and some management people that in other roles kind of rang me on the drive. And that's where I had like a real big van. I remember I was driving fucking flooring it down.
Oh my
Fuck
God.
these dogs, these like, you know what I mean? Like you're just getting.
Fuck these dogs. Not you,
Yeah.
but the other ones.
One
A good
of
boy
them-
for shitting in the corner.
That's
Yeah.
it. One bloke rang me, and he was like a general manager of Queensland, and he was like, "Man, like so sorry, whatever." And he just, I remember it was a really nice dude. He just stayed on the phone with me for an hour and just let me completely berate him and the company, like, because it's like nighttime now. Because I stayed wandering around Mackay because I was like, I can't drive yet. And it's like middle of the night, I'm just flooring it in the fucking Queensland back roads. And he's like, I'm going to stay on the phone just so you don't fucking drive into a
But what do you
tree
do?
or some
Yeah,
shit.
And I want to listen to you crash. And
Yeah.
so what? So when you called your girlfriend, you're like, don't ask for your job back because this Sydney thing isn't happening anymore. Like, what
Please
was
be April
her
14,
reaction?
please be April 14.
Yeah.
April 14.
Yeah, she was kind of like, well, we're not coming back to Cairns, so just gonna have to figure it out, I guess.
Oh,
And
that's
she's
good.
like,
She seems nice.
yeah, she was all right. I mean, we're not together anymore, but, but that's a different
Relationship
podcast.
review.
That's a different one. But no, she was like okay, but we like I remember we didn't really see each other for probably nearly a month or so, or probably about a month because I was in Brisbane for a bit. I got to my mate's house and my phone was blowing up because it was like, you know, radio stations want to interview you or whatever, and X person from X paper wants to get the story or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And they SCA kind of buried it because they put it out on a Friday night. So it just kind of disappears over the weekend.
Okay.
And I look back at that time and I'm kind of like, I probably should have capitalized on it more in hindsight. But at the time, part of me still was attached to the idea of, and I had a manager at the time that was probably giving me the wrong advice in many ways, where it was like the idea of I'd get another radio job.
So you didn't want to fucking shit
Yeah, I
on
didn't
the
want to
company.
fuck it up
Yeah.
completely. And then, so it took me a bit to kind of detach from that. I did end up getting work at Nova here in Brisbane.
Yeah.
So I got a job here. I was in Adelaide and they had a job going in Brisbane. And the guy that ran it actually met with me after the weekend because he was just like, oh, mate, like you don't have to come on my brekkie show. I just thought like meet you and stuff because my best mate worked at Nova as well. So he was like,
Right.
you know, you're a mate of his. We'll see if I got something for you. And that kind of started the pathway to me moving to Brisbane because they gave me enough work to basically pay rent. But I was
Okay.
like couch surfing at my parents' house, had to leave the dog with them, swapped cars with my old girl, drove Uber in Sydney for a bit to get money because I had shows in Adelaide.
Oh my
And
god.
I went to Adelaide, did shows at the Fringe,
Jesus.
and then came like finally managed to find some work while I was in Adelaide, and I moved to Brisbane after that.
But the worst part is ScoMo is a cunt, though.
Well,
you know what
because-
I mean?
but this is the thing,
confirms
mate.
it now.
I did it before it was cool.
Yeah.
Like he got elected a couple of months later. I think May was the election or something. And he got in by a bit. And I was like, fuck, I really thought I read the room. But turns out I don't have my finger on the pulse. And it's probably good I'm not in radio anymore.
But radio is very fickle. I've heard a lot of people say that radio, like, it's just cutthroat. You can't. Are you still working in it?
No,
Would you want to?
No, well, the money's not there anymore, I don't think. But I think
the imaginary money that used to be like, here's this.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I
Yeah.
could buy a house in 2 years. Now it's kind of gone.
I've spoken to like Cody about this because obviously he does brekkie in Melbourne. And like he's like, you know, you talk to him, he's like, it's such a good job. And I was like, breakfast radio is one of the funnest jobs you can do.
Okay.
That's not my experience of it.
In the sense that you just go in there and you riff and shit. Yeah. I was blessed that every show I've had, I was always with a co-host that I was like, that was really good, that would like teach me if they were like more in it longer than me, or they were like just supportive of what I wanted to do.
Yep.
And you've got to be in a good relationship with the brekkie co-host because it's like a faux fucking marriage because it's like they're seeing you when you're like early morning, you don't give a fuck. If you're not happy, too bad. You got to fucking figure it out. But when you're doing Cody's job, which is you've got 4 fucking producers or whatever, and there's a guy doing the paneling for you, and your job is to purely be there, tell stories and have fun. Those jobs are sick. And that was a job I was going to move into after doing regional, where it's like you cut your promos, you book your interviews, you know, do planning of your show. There's no producer. It's just you and the other person.
Yep.
When you're in that atmosphere, you've got to be with someone that you're mates with. And I had that every single time. So I'm always like, that was really fun.
Yep.
But I don't think that exists as much anymore that it used to. And the money then was shit. And the money now would be just as shit, if not worse.
But then when I lived here, you had a job at the Gold Coast on a gig with like.
And that was paneling. So I was just pushing the buttons. And that
weren't
was shit.
you on? Yeah, it was shit. I remember you were like, it was like, I don't know, like Tamara and Gaza or something.
It was Moira and Big Trev.
It's always a big someone, isn't there?
Moira and Big Trev. I can't believe it wasn't fun.
They were nice.
I'm
but
sure
the show was
nice.
older and
Even
I was the panel op and the program director. The day I quit that job was because they really liked me having a chat with them and mucking around. But then I had a meeting after one of the shows and the boss, the program director, was like, you need to talk less. And that's when I went, well, I'm not here to just sit and push buttons, so I'm out. So.
And they got all their little. I mean, I did a little trial in Brisbane for the breakfast one. They were trialing like 4 or 5.
So you'd be great though.
But the thing is, and like what you said, and I was with Mardo and Margot. They're great people, but I can't. They're not my friends. You know what I mean? I don't really.
You're not friends with someone called Margaret?
Nah,
That's weird.
Margot.
Oh, he doesn't even know her name. No wonder she didn't like you.
It's Margot.
Margot. That's like it's too close. I can't even get the name right. But so I had and like. I hit the guy who's on it's been on fucking Triple M for Mardo for 90 years. I have no. I cannot relate to this man because I don't really fucking know him. Yeah. And then she's like, fucking a business lady in her own right. She's married to a rugby league player. They're both from Brisbane.
Oh, is this Triple M?
Yeah, Triple M.
Okay.
I literally, you walk in, you're on. You're like, how I can't. I don't know these fucking people.
That happens over time, right?
And they're great at their job, but I can't relate.
I think there's an element of why, so I started doing stand-up while I was doing radio. I did it for the first time in Darwin. And I did it I'd been comedy adjacent. I'd helped organise some gigs, met Heggie years ago and loved it, but never thought I could do it. Mm-hmm. And then when I did it, I was like, oh, fuck, this is heaps better than radio because you can just kind of, you don't have to worry about
the secret sound,
or
the ad break,
saying something fucked, or getting in trouble for the thing, right? Because there's limits, and it's fun to play within limits because you can get more creative to try and push the boundaries.
Yes,
but stand up was a bit more freeing, and I was an open mic or ignorant, thinking I was great. But the elements of radio to comedy is why I think doing Shad and Pete works well for me, because being able to work with a co-host, the thing they don't tell you is. And the hard thing, I think, for comics going onto radio is that not only do you have to be able to tell the jokes yourself in a format that makes it more conversational instead of it being here's your bit, here's the end, go, because they're going to chime in. So you need to figure out how to tell your story at the pub, to these people. Uh-huh. But then also, and this is the biggest part, is you need to know how to throw the ball up for someone else to get the punchline. Yes. And I think some comics that do struggle in radio is that they know that being on stage, you have to get the laugh.
Yeah.
But in the studio, giving it to someone else is also
And
as good and better. And the part that's hard going back to radio is because you bomb every single time. Every time you do a joke in a radio studio, you bomb because it's a soundproof room and it's one or three other people max.
Yeah.
And you might make them laugh, but if 3 people laugh at a fucking gig, that's tanking.
Yeah.
And you got to kind of go, and that's what I did. Like after doing stand up for a bit, I was like, fuck, I much prefer having fun on stage in many ways because I can hear what's happening back and forth and I can chat to someone immediately.
And the other thing is like when you're bringing stuff to the table is like if you don't know those people, which I didn't, it's like I don't know where I'm going to leave a gap in for them. I don't know if they're quick enough to see what I'm doing or if they're paying attention or it's so it was a hard relationship to mold. Was really we should have done it a week off air.
100%. I'm crazy to put you just straight on.
Yeah, and then build it. But they had their own little ways, and I only had smaller segments, and they were driving it. And to be honest, I've never been in a studio and stuff. And I think I did okay for someone who's never done it. But I don't think I was good at it. You know what I mean? And I think you need to build a rapport. Like with Bronny, when we do stuff, it's taken us up to we're more comfortable now. But if you look back at episode 1, we were.
I was calling the police.
Yes,
I was like, this man won't leave me alone.
Stop kissing her.
And he is on the watch list
we
still.
don't have HR.
I'm HR.
Yeah. But it takes ages to figure out where people
100%.
are coming in and finding the flow. And particularly if you're a young comic and you're seeing screens, there's TV, there's 4 producers out there. It's too much.
Radio does a really good job of making it feel like it's bigger than what it is.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like it's like every industry loves the smell of its own farts. I mean, we work in fucking comedy, you know what I mean?
That saying is so gross.
But
Keep
it's
going.
but radio really is something special with how I was there for the period where they thought that where like it was the height of emotional radio, where it was like, if you're a woman on air, let's talk about your body issues. Let's find a fun way, let's talk about it and make this big grandiose event to make everyone feel good about themselves. And I'd have co-hosts that were like, I don't want to fucking do that shit. Like,
I'd
and it was like
hate that.
really, they thought that they were this big. We're going to change the world with XX and X, and you're like, no, you're not. Like, it's fucking. There's 100,000 people listening to us in Cairns. All they care about is having a laugh and when's the fucking footy on this weekend. You know what I mean? Like, when's the fucking good specials around town?
Did you find it hard? That part I found it hard is to talk about things you were not interested in at all.
Yeah.
They're like, okay, so when the news says this, and I was like, I don't want to talk about it.
You are
100%.
so bad at pretending something's interesting to you.
Yeah, I can't.
He's the worst at it, Shad.
I'm getting worse as I get older.
Oh, really?
I've got no time for it. I'm like, if
I will
I'm not
try.
interested, I'm like,
I will try. All my energy will be like, just look him straight in the eye. When he
she
starts
says that
talking about
I edit this podcast. She's yawned 3 times during one guest. Anyway,
Yeah, typical.
who? When? Which guest?
it was alive.
How dare you? Live show
It
you
was
on.
Was
live
it?
one. It was like last week, and I had to cut around you, so don't act like you missed.
Oh, was it?
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Okay. That's honestly,
We were 4 records deep, by the way.
Haven't noticed anything in this episode, just saying.
absolutely none. Would never
weren't looking the right
dream
way.
of it. But what was I even saying? Oh yeah, that's right. You're really bad at pretending. So I think on radio they'd be like, Brett's not interested again. When you talk to me about cars,
Yeah.
I listen to your cars
I
about
know,
your
I'm so
about
sorry.
Holdens or whatever.
Ford really annoys me. You're not listening that well. I fucking hate Holdens.
Goddamn beauty! Sucked in.
I 100% though. Like I'm not a big pop culture. Like I'll be across it, but I had to figure out a way to. I had a guy that was my boss when I first started there. Really, like picked how I was and was really good at going. This is how I think. You can be you without having to, break essentially our golden rules of, don't hate every song.
Yeah.
You got to, like, everyone goes, oh, you got to love every song. And I was like, I don't love every song and I hate being disingenuous with that. And he was like, you don't have to be. But you just can't be there going, that song's fucking shit.
Every single
Do what
time.
you do. Say something that you don't like, that you find stupid about it. Be facetious, be sarcastic. That's fine. So when, we figured that out, there was, a segment my host, Alari, used to do. It was... it was the news stories of the day for entertainment. And she knew me for years. So she'd pick ones that she knew would arc me up.
Yeah, great.
And
See,
that would
that's
be the
fun.
way that I'd have fun with it. And my favorite thing was when people called up, and when people call a radio station, you're in radio, you're kind of like, these people are the best. Because, especially programmers and that, because they're like, these people took time out of their day to ring the station. Like, I'd never fucking ring a radio station.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, maybe. But an adult ringing a breakfast radio station, it's
Yeah.
like, when did you shit yourself at the shops? Like,
Oh, I got one. I got one.
you know what I mean? So those people are awesome to have on. And because in radio, fucking reveal the curtain, 80% of the callers you hear are fucking fake. There are other radio
Are
shows.
they really?
Yeah, there are other radio shows that have called up to be callers breed callers, so they'll always get someone in the can. I used to hate doing it. I was like, I'd rather the phones die and we move on to the next topic and ignore it, because odds are the person's not listening anymore. But like that the callers were like precious, but I loved shit stirring, and it's like what I do in stand up as well. And he said something to me where he's like, I pick on callers and that, and he goes, you can always do that, but the thing you always have to be is you can be mean, you can't be nasty. Because the moment you're nasty, they'll turn on you. They don't like that. You can be mean as much as you want, because it's like, oh, he's a bit mean. But nasty, they'll just want to turn it off. And that's why, like, the Kyle Sandilands of the world, he flirts between both worlds. But that's why people love him, because they hear so much of him just being a bit mean. And I think that's kind of something I took into doing stand-up from radio, where I was like, when I want to talk to audience members and
don't be a
muck
fucking
around,
cunt.
I don't be a massive cunt. I'll just be a bit mean to test
mate,
the waters.
Isn't that weird that they love
and people
it?
reveal more when that happens, because you rip on your mates. So if you're that right level of mucking around with someone, they'll give you heaps, because they're like, we're
smiling
us.
assassin, and you're very good at the crowd work at doing that. But I got fucking schooled hard, because they did they did a phoner topic, and I got to come up with a phoner one for the week, and I was like, all right, first day work fails. You know, I work construction. I knocked a toilet off on the first day. None of the tradies could shit. The guy at the cafe across the road hated it, because it was 40 blokes doing coffee shits at his cafe all day. I was like, great topic. Threw it to the caller lines. 2 people called in, and I was like, is that good? And they're like, no. And then Mardo goes, all right, cool. And he had this up his fucking sleeve, because he's been doing it for 20 years. And I was like, you fucking cunt. And he goes, all right, call in. What's the weirdest letterbox you've ever seen? I was like, that's so fucking lame. Like 900 calls. Oh, I saw a 2-stroke engine down in fucking Malibu. Like, oh my God. Can we talk about something interesting?
It actually makes you die inside the things that hit. We used to laugh at it, so we called it Radio 101 with like, me and Carly at the time were like, if we ever got in trouble, you got to dust off the cobwebs on the Radio 101 handbook. And it's just phono topics that always hit. And we had this deal that we were like, if a program director, like a boss, ever makes us do pineapple on pizza, we quit. We quit today.
Yeah. That's a
we're
good
like,
line.
we will never do pineapple on pizza. We'll fucking quit. Pineapple on pizza. How do you have your Vegemite? I remember for fucking a month and a bit on radio, some fucking station did a social post being like, what's your favourite Bicky in the assorted pack? And it went mental.
Yeah.
And
people are arguing.
and they love it. And they go nuts. And you're just like, these are the people these are your rusted on audience members. These are the loud
they're
ones.
the ones listening.
They're the ones that are loud, listening and getting involved. The idiots that are like, Monte Carlo?
That's crazy. Get stuck in my dentures. Okay.
I love the Diggers. I'm always an Anzac. You don't love Australia if you don't love the Anzac.
Hell yeah, dude.
Oh, man.
So, Shad, we asked this of everyone again. What is the worst gig you've ever done?
Stand up.
So stand up. So obviously you've got a worst job you've ever done. We've got that pretty clear. Got fired. The Prime Minister made that happen. Thank you. God rest your soul. ScoMo. Worst stand-up gig you've ever done.
Fuck. Man, I started comedy in Queensland. There's like,
So you're just using everything's normal.
heaps, dude.
Yeah, I got in a fight. Pretty stock standard,
what was
isn't
your first gig? Was it in Cairns?
My first gig was in Darwin. I did like a gig in Darwin, then I didn't do comedy again for like 2 years or something.
Must have gone well.
Well, I moved and there was no comedy in Cairns. So we had until we
so
started
that's why
a
you
scene.
and Pete started
Yeah,
laughing
me,
hard.
Pete, and another bloke started a couple of rooms and then went from there. So that's probably the proper start. My first gig was my very first gig was at a place called Bogarts in Parap in Darwin. And I remember I rocked up and I was like, all right, I'm going to do my 5 minutes. And I had like all written down and shit. And then like you'd say to anyone that does their 5 minutes, you go, if you've written 5 minutes, cut it in half because it's going to be longer than 5 minutes. And I
Still haven't learnt that.
yeah. And I got up there and it was 5 people in the audience. One of them was one of my mates that came to watch me. And it was like not a ticketed thing. You're just sitting there with the mic. And then just as I was about to get on stage, an 18th birthday came in and sat at a table, not in the space that they're doing stand-up, but at the back, and all sitting Last Supper style, like just watching me absolutely bomb. Nothing made sense. It was like the worst fucking gear. I think I did a story about a mate of mine getting mistaken as a pedophile or something. It was some real fucked stuff.
And did you
it was
think
just dead silent?
You would have thought that it was going to go off. You were like, this is great.
I thought there was going to be more than fucking 5 people there.
Well, there was. There was heaps. The whole party came, mate.
Right.
What did you want?
That was
They came,
fucked.
they left in the conga line. It was fucked.
I remember they started the Happy Birthday song before the end of my set. That was the main thing. And I left there and I was like, yeah, I want to keep doing this.
Yeah, isn't that wild? Because usually people have a good first gig and they go, yeah, okay, I'll keep doing this. And then dreadful after that for ages. That's my experience. And then, but you had a bad one and you're like, no, that's fine. I hate myself enough to keep going.
There's heaps of comedies.
They didn't get it.
Never get better.
They didn't
You're
get
not
it.
one of them, though. It's one of the best
But the
fucking
worst
MCs
gig,
in
so
the country.
you would be one of the comedians that we've had on who does quite a bit of corporate stuff. Have you had a dreadful corporate gig?
Do you have anyone messaging you on the Garmin watch saying, "Can we book this one?"
No.
So I had a corporate for Garmin. I keep whatever, who cares? And the CEO's phone, they had to make me wear her watch because I had an iWatch on, and it was connected to her phone, so I had to wear her Garmin watch. And when I looked at her watch, it said, "Who booked this fucking guy?" Someone texted her.
So good.
I remember it wasn't a corporate, but Pete and I decided to do, when we were really early starting out, a North Queensland tour because we were living in Cairns.
Yeah.
And we did a gig in Tully in a pub, and we're like, fuck, it's quiet. And like, but we ended up getting about 20 people in and no one knows who we are. So we're like, that's cool. And we go to do the gig, and I remember in the lead up to the gig, the guy at the pub's just like, yeah, mate, you should have done this gig on a Saturday. We're like, why? He goes, no one in Tully comes out on a Friday. And I was like, why didn't you tell us that when we booked the fucking gig?
I'm telling you now, mate.
Everyone stays home on a Friday. Bad night to do it on a Friday. I was like, fuck. And we did the gig, and I remember like, it was going fine, we were having fun, and I got up to do mine. Pete did the first half, and then I did the second half. And I remember as I was there, it was in January, and the Australian Open was on, and I like started doing a setup, and there was a bit of silence, and then I just hear a 40 love. And I look down, and a lady's just got her phone, and she's watching the tennis. I'm like, are you watching the tennis? She goes, yeah, Nick Kyrgios is playing. And I was like, oh, and then someone at the back goes, how's he doing? I was just like, fuck.
Please respect my art.
Look, at Logan, there was a gig out there, Fitzy's, was it? There's a guy, and sometimes that room is like, has a few people in it. They're all rough trade. I actually don't mind Fitzy's, but there was a guy who would come with his carers. So sometimes he had one carer, sometimes he had two carers, but neither of the carers, and they'd be the front row centre, neither of the carers ever wanted to watch the comedy.
No, the carers cared.
No, they didn't. It was literally your only job. I know. I think it's a free gig.
Not a bad
Anyway,
gig.
so you're performing and you look down, and every single time they'd be on their phones, sometimes with the sound up. So be watching like Instagram reels sliding across, and you're like, okay, I'm not going to yell at you because you're obviously doing God's work here, but
No, they're not.
come on.
You know, most of the carers on the fucking NDIS are a bunch of fucking rorts. There, I said it.
There you go.
My brother's on the NDIS, and the amount of carers he goes through that do fuck all.
Oh, really?
They support people. They come in, they're on their phone. They're just like,
It's
hey, go
hard.
for
I
a
wouldn't
mate.
want to do it.
My last gig before COVID, obviously everyone cancelled the show because COVID was out or whatever. We were stuck in Brisbane, but there was 3 people in wheelchairs who obviously it's a big effort to get them out. They're like, fuck it, I'm coming. So the last gig I did before COVID, the 2-year lockdown, was to 3 blokes, non-verbal blokes in wheelchairs.
Great.
And then there are 3 carers. And I was like, well, at least there's 6 people in the room.
Yeah.
Carers on the phone.
Yeah.
And then the non-verbal blokes, I was like, surely there's a laugh button on there somewhere. 'Cause I am dying up here, guys. This cannot be my last gig. And like, is there a ha-ha button? I need to know that.
Sounded the same as most of his gigs.
Oh, my God.
I don't know what's different.
Surprised I got 3 in, to be honest. All right, we'll leave it there. But are you touring Australia? What's going on?
Yeah, you're doing a show.
Yes, I've got Shad and Pete Save the World's going around the
It's
country.
so good. Speaking, when we're talking about co-hosts before, we're talking about how you need to have someone that you gel with. You and Pete
incredible
are
together.
perfect.
Thank you. It
You
is
guys
good.
are such
Live show's great. Podcast's great.
Yeah, individually you both are two of the best stand-up comedians in Australia.
Oh,
I reckon. You're
stop it.
no, truly you are.
You are.
So much fun to watch, and then when you work together, it's like it just explodes. So I love that you're still doing it.
Yeah,
Yep.
go check out the pod, but also the live show is far better than the pod.
so
The pod's a
much
muck
fun.
around as a add-on, but the live show is you write down any problems you got in your life. Nothing's off limits. Nothing's too fucked up. Put it in a bucket on stage, and me and Pete and some special guests that you guys have been on the pod as well.
Yeah.
On the show, get
Some of
very
the
drunk.
wildest shows we've ever done.
Yeah, we get very drunk and
That's so
solve them
much
for you with a
fun.
100% success rate guaranteed, never fails.
Very
so
good.
That's that. And then my solo, I'm doing my show called How I Almost Killed a Guy. The title pretty much tells you mostly what the show's
Now,
about.
I've seen this show and it's incredible.
Oh, thank you.
I love a story. I love it so much. And you are and you weave this story through, and it's beautiful and it's gripping. And the end of it, you're like, it's such a satisfying, because you know some people start telling a story, and this is what I've got a problem with my show at the moment, is I've got this story but I don't know how to end it. Like yours ends so well. It's such a good show. I highly recommend.
Yeah, if you have the travel bug, or this is how it was described to me after a Melbourne show. Someone came up to me and said, because like I'm in my mid-30s now, and they were as well. They're like, man, maybe nostalgic for the partying days. You know what I mean? Because it's like it's about when I was in my 20s on my first overseas trip to Colombia, and may or may not have killed someone. So
fuck.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Where can people find you on social media?
At Wicked Shad on
Hell
social.
yes, guys.
Shad.
Bretty and Bron, we're touring Australia-wide at the moment. We're hitting Adelaide, Brisbane, Sydney, Melbourne.
So individual shows,
Individual
yes.
shows,
Huge
yes.
tour, but then we're doing a show together for this, and it's tonight. We are doing it here at Sit Down Comedy Club. It's already sold out. You can't come.
Can't come.
And then where are we? Good chat. And then
we got
There's
Adelaide. This might be a bit later. That who knows? Adelaide and Melbourne. Make sure you grab your tickets.
Yeah.
If you're not already on the Patreon, make sure you do so. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Shad.
Hey, no worries.
I've been fired from a lot of places. I've been fired from so many places.
I went into the class one day, real bullets, like real bullets.
Kill me.